Welcome to the first lecture of Managing the Design and Construction Process of Integrated Project Delivery Systems. This lecture will review principles and catalysts of integrated project delivery systems. So one of the most important questions and one of the most fundamental questions that you have to ask yourself is why select IPD? You should start to consider this for yourself as you're going to be a professional. You would encourage an owner to choose IPD or not. So some of the most significant forces influencing design and construction today are, first of all, waste and lack of productivity. Second, technological evolution or software. Owner demand for value. Adversarial relationships, frequent disputes, lack of innovation, and worker safety. Detailed discussions of these forces are referenced in Integrated Project Delivery for Public and Private Owners, as well as Managing Integrated Project Delivery. We would encourage you to read both of these articles so that you can familiarize yourself with them. So first, an overview of Integrated Project Delivery Systems. Integrated project delivery is a project delivery approach that integrates people, systems, business structures, and practices into a process that collaboratively harnesses the talents and insights of all participants to reduce waste and optimize efficiency through all phases of design, fabrication, and construction. IPD principles can be applied to a variety of contractual arrangements, and IPD teams will usually include members well beyond the basic triad of owner, architect, and contractor. At a minimum, though, an integrated project includes tight collaboration between the owner, the architect, and the general contractor, ultimately responsible for construction of a project, from early design through project handover. So there are several different levels of collaboration in IPD. I guess there are two main ones. First, you have delivery method versus philosophy. So IPD as a philosophy, and sometimes this is referred to as IPD light or IPD-ish, occurs when integrated practices or philosophies are applied to more traditional delivery approaches where the owner is not party to a multi-party contract, so the contractual pieces of IPD are not there. Traditional transactional contracts are typically used, and some limited risk sharing occurs, and some of the IPD principles are applied. Now, IPD as a delivery method, or true IPD as it's sometimes called, is when the owner elects to sign a multi-party contract with the prime designer, contract, and or other key members of the project team. And I know in this class we may end up with some landscape architecture students as well as some civil engineering students. So those disciplines can also be included if needed. These projects are also characterized by a contract that incentivizes collaborative behavior, team risk sharing, and other IPD principles and practices. Contractual principles of IPD include key participants bound together as equals, so there is really not a lot of hierarchy. Shared financial risk and reward based on the project outcomes. Liability waivers between key participants. Fiscal transparency between key participants. Early involvement of key participants. Intensified design. Jointly developed project target criteria, and collaborative decision making. So for instance, some of these, and you should familiarize yourself in the Integrated Project Delivery for Public and Private Owners, they encourage practitioners to work for what is best for the project rather than what is best simply for their own bottom line. IPD behavioral principles, so these are not necessarily for project optimization, but are ultimately choice-based. So these are things that really can't be put into a contract, are mutual respect and trust, a willingness to collaborate, and then open communication. And then catalysts for IPD are those that can be greatly beneficial for optimizing project results, and those include multi-party agreement, building information modeling that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with because it allows teams to work collaboratively on the actual model of the building. Lean design and construction techniques can also be used, and then the co-location of the team. And we're going to be talking a lot about co-location of a team, as your first project will actually deal with this topic.
So just to summarize what has been discussed thus far, this table does a very good job of providing that summary. What you're looking at here is the first column is the level of collaboration, and it goes from lower to higher as we go across the table. The next row is the philosophy or delivery method, as was discussed, either as IPD as a philosophy or IPD as a delivery method. And then delivery approaches, typical selection processes, nature of agreement, and then key characteristics. And then the last row talks about typical basis of reimbursement. So there are three collaboration levels. Level 1 is typical collaboration, not contractual requirement. Common types include open book, cost plus with a guaranteed maximum price, fixed fee. Common procurement methods include for design is qualification based selection. For construction is either qualification based or best value. Level 2 collaboration is is enhanced from level 1. Some contractual collaboration requirements, that is early participation of stakeholders, use of BIM, sharing of models, and so on. Common contract types include open book, cost plus with a GMP, or fixed fee. Common procurement methods, again, is either qualification based or best value. And then the third level is the true IPD, and so here it's contractual. So you have a multi-party contract. The delivery approach is IPD. The selection process is qualification based, and then the key characteristics, you have owner, designer, contractor, and possibly other key team members. Team risk sharing, team decision making, optimizing the entire project, and then co-location, again, is very important, and we'll talk about that later on. And then the typical contract, GMP or no GMP, some costs guaranteed. This next slide also is a summary of the IPD process. The first one in the top right, left shows you the IPD structure. And here we have early involvement of key participants, and then from there it goes to the key participants come together to really develop a creative solution as well as an efficient one. And so this collaboration from the start, from the get-go, will lead to project outcomes. And so this flow chart just really just shows you that process of how the team comes together and how the project outcomes turn out. The next flow chart, project decision flow, again, it just summarizes how decisions are made. And so this is again, just a reference, when you work as a team, you may or may not follow all these steps and the same flow of decision making, but this is just a guideline to show you one way of working collaboratively. Organization, operating systems, and commercial terms is also a key to integrate it to the process of IPD. Project delivery systems have three basic domains within which they operate. The first is the project organization, the second, the project's operating system, and then the third, the commercial terms binding the project participants. So project organization, the traditional construction project is organized into three camps with diverse interests that sometimes converge and other times are opposed. And so they are the owner, designer, and contractor. Traditional projects involve siloed structure. Traditional projects, project organizations result in waste, increased cost and time, and more adversarial relationships. So, in what ways does IPD address these problems? Integrated teams is the key. Bringing key contractors together with the owner and the designers from the early stages of the project allows the major players to develop a much higher level of common understanding of the project. The design moves forward with continuous input from the contractor about cost, constructability, and value, allowing designers to make better decisions with fewer and less intensive loopbacks. This affects the contractors. This affords the contractors' ability to both influence the design and take some ownership of the design. The designers and contractors develop a closer, more productive relationship as they work side by side to solve problems together and gaining insight into each other's workings. Thus, a project culture emerges. Integrated governances. Many IPD projects use some form of leadership by executive committee. And this is called the core group, project management team, or the management group. This executive council is responsible for the day-to-day management and leadership of the project and operates on a consensus basis. Executive committees are always composed of at least the owner, the prime architect, prime contractor, or construction manager, and often includes representatives of key trades or key design consultants. The executive council members are leaders, and their tone and commitment to the project and project delivery methods are critical to the success of an IPD project. So if we do not if the executive committee or the executive core group and the management group do not buy in to the IPD concept, then the project will fall apart. So it's very important to have these two groups from the get-go be proactively involved. High-performing teams, an open collaborative culture is the key to creating a high-performing team. Partnering activities and a focus on developing shared processes are used to develop an open collaborative culture. The goal is to foster trust among the project participants, and that's not an easy task. Now, project team leaders play a critical role in setting the expectation that team members relate to each other in more collaborative ways, emphasizing the importance of making and keeping commitments and tracking the team's performance helps team members focus on and improve the reliability of their promises. Reliability helps build trust. So, as team members rely on one another and the team members are reliable, then that fosters trust and it makes the entire process go smoother. Involving team members in goal setting and performance evaluation also helps change the culture to one of increased trust, collaboration, shared learning, and spirit du corps. Some IPD projects create high performance teams that span across disciplines and employers to put the right person in the right function for the right project, regardless of employer. People remain employed by their respective companies, but assume one or more roles based on individual skills and project needs, rather than the nature of the employer's business, thus creating a virtual company that is not a legal entity but more like a temporary social organization. Operating systems. Many IPD projects embrace and implement lean construction or lean project delivery to reduce waste, shorten schedules, increase productivity and quality, and to improve safety and project relationships. Commercial terms, traditional contract structure foster local rather than project-wide optimization. This leads to inefficiency and dispute. The idea that the party that can best manage the risk should bear the risk is largely a fallacy in construction projects. Traditional construction contracts shift risk among the various participants, and often the party who bears the risk is the one with the least bargaining power rather than the one best able to manage the risk. IPD offers a better opportunity. Rather than simply shifting risks among each other, members of IPD team typically agree in various ways to share risk and collectively manage it. So collective risk management means less risk for the whole project and thus less risk for the players to share. It also promotes a collaborative project culture.
That concludes Lecture 1. You should now review Discussion 1, and you can pull from the things that we discussed during this lecture as well as the readings that have been assigned to begin working and preparing for your first initial post.